I am going to call the meeting to order because it's 2:00. Today is December 1st, 2021. And at this time, I'm going to take roll call, although we still have many members to join, but nevertheless, Dick Cooner.
Aye, present.
Dr. Copeland. I'm sure I've not heard that he's not going to join. Danielle Angelari.
I'm here.
Dr. Bill Gorski.
Here.
Dr. Terry Giardini.
Here.
Tim Neighbors. Linda Sandquist will not be with us today. I do know that. And our advisory members, Wendy Larson Bennett. I know she'll be joining. And Jay Ware.
Present.
Great. There she is. And Mary Ann Abadi present. We have not had a request for public comment, but at this time, we are going to ask Danielle. Unfortunately, we all got the email that we're going to be losing a board member, and Danielle wants to just kind of say a little something to the board before she leaves us today. She's not going to be with us for the entire meeting, so. Okay, Danielle, the floor is yours.
Sorry to leave someone to a lot of writing. That's just what I want to say initially. No, but I wanted to just tell you all thank you. And I was really honored to work alongside of you guys for this awesome endeavor. And I know that the board's in good hands. So I feel okay leaving, though I'm sad. You'll see me around. I know it. And please remember, if you guys need anything, I'm happy to help however I can, even off the board.
Well, thank you very much. And I think just for the record, we all know that Danielle is leaving because she is the executive director of NAMI Northern Illinois. And there's a possibility that they would be proposing a program. So that is a conflict. So she is out ahead of this, and we respect that very much. But as board president, I just want to tell you, you are going to be missed for more reasons than you know, and we will call upon you if we need to. So
Please do.
thank you for everything you've done, Danielle.
Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you, Danielle.
Thanks, Danielle.
Hey, Danielle, you're a keeper.
Yep.
So-
Thanks a lot.
Now I'm going to switch over and watch you guys on YouTube.
Okay, you don't
Bye,
have
guys.
to take minutes today. So bye, Danielle.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay.
Okay, presentation wise, we did not have a request, but that's why I allowed Danielle to speak. And then the next agenda item is our monthly activity report, which we all received in our packet. So Jason, is there any comments? I mean, we've all read
I'll just highlight a few things this past month. Of course, we did a news release for the updated strategic plan and the release of the notice of funding opportunity. I thought the coverage was really good. It was a great coverage that told the story really well about the impact that these dollars can make in our community. We hosted the convening organizations to collaborate meeting, and I think we had really good attendance. I don't know the final numbers, but I think 40 maybe signed up, and it seemed like maybe close to that number attended. I did send that out to the board members, of course, and it's linked on the website, the recorded video of it, and also those that have signed up that they would be interested in collaborating with another organization on an application. I'll just say the feedback in the meeting and even outside of the meeting about that has been really positive about the innovation that this board is bringing to funding and grant making. And then lastly, of course, we have on the agenda for today our updated grant application, which was kind of a primary focus for us over this month. And we feel really confident that that's all ready to go. We've recorded a grant seekers meeting that can go live along with the application pending approval today.
Okay, and with that, I have to ask, do we have a quorum?
We do. So it's a 7-member board now,
Yeah.
and we have right
No, it's a
now.
9-member, well, now it's eight members.
That's
now
currently
it's 7.
there's 7.
Oh, Jason, that right away. Yeah,
And there's right now on the call, just to note that Dr. Copeland just entered the room. And so now there are
wonderful.
5 voting members of 7.
Okay, so Ed, I did roll call, but if you want to acknowledge your presence, that's helpful for the record.
Present.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. Okay, and the next are our action items. And right off the bat, given Danielle's resignation today, we need an officer to be elected. So I'm going to ask if there's nominees from the floor.
I nominate Bill Gorski.
Any other? Bill, you've been nominated. Are you willing to accept the secretarial
I
position?
must say, Marianne, I spoke with Jason about this, as you know, and I was a little taken aback by Danielle's comment about whatever she has been doing. I am not a minute taker, and Jason sort of assured me I wouldn't necessarily have to do that. I would be, I assume, responsible for reviewing them, but
Right.
I'm not your person to document everything that we're saying. If I'm the person to fill the role, I'm happy to do it, as long as I'm not the primary note taker.
And I think that is very understood. And Jason said that with in his staff that can be managed very easily. Am I correct, Jason, on that?
Yes, that's correct. We can take the meeting minutes. We're already doing the captioning for the videos, reviewing the captions. So it's kind of goes hand in hand with that. Anyway, it's not much of an extra push for it.
Well, I'm touched by your nomination, and thank you, Dick. I'm a little bit emotional, but as long as Jason assures me, I think it seems appropriate. I'm happy to review them once they're together and before they go out. But with that caveat, yes, I'm happy to serve in that role.
Perfect.
So we need a second for the motion.
Second.
Yeah, look at how quick that was.
I'm pointing at you, Bill. Yes.
Okay. So we've had the motion and a second, although, I have to take the roll call. Dick Cooner,
Yes.
okay. Dr. Copeland,
Aye.
Dr. Bill Gorski. Oh,
Thanks.
yeah.
Do I vote?
Yeah.
Sure. Aye.
Dr. Giardini,
Absolutely.
Tim Neighbors, Linda Sandquist, Marianne Abadi, aye. So we have a new secretary, and thank you, Bill, for accepting the position and agreeing to review all the notes.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Our next action agenda item is our November meeting minutes. So I will need a motion for approval.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Second, we have, is there any discussion, any edits? Okay, given hearing none, I will take the roll call for the meeting minutes. Dick Cooner.
Aye.
Okay. Dr. Gorski,
Aye.
Dr. Copeland,
Aye.
Dr. Giardini,
Aye.
Tim Neighbors, Linda Sandquist, Marianne Abadi, aye. So the meeting minutes I have been approved and accepted. Moving on to our funding policy update. And Jason, I'm going to let you delve into this. And we
Sure.
have our attorney here too.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, maybe we could move the funding agreement ahead of the grant application while we have the attorney on. Her time is literally valuable as we're paying
Sure.
for it by the minute, right? So we'll
Oh, very good, wise decision.
put these two together. And so essentially, the changes that were made for two reasons. Number one, were areas where we could better clarify based on experience from this past year, things that funded organizations maybe found confusing or not very articulated very clearly. So it's just some clarifications on things. And then the other thing was just making sure there was better alignment between the funding policy and funding agreement. And so that everything that was in one matched up and aligned well with what was in the other. So I don't think that really there's nothing that changed that changes the fundamental model of how we're funding or how people are reporting. It's just clarifying and aligning the two documents.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, Marianne?
Do we, first of all, have to have a motion before discussion? Or should we, is it questions first?
Oftentimes there's a motion first, but it's really up to you.
Okay, well, I'm fine either way. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, were you doing the funding one for funding agreement first, Jason, did you say?
Well, funding policy was first and then funding agreement. We're doing them together.
Doing them
So you
together.
can have questions really about either.
Okay. I just had a question about the, okay, and with our attorney here, this is maybe nitpicking, but I was looking at the funding agreement. It was number 10, liability indemnification. And there's a sentence there that says, providers shall indemnify, defend, and hold harmless the board. And I didn't know, to me, as a non-lawyer, I sort of read that there's some other step that needs to occur. And I'm wondering if it, is there, I mean, I don't know how to lawyer or wordsmith or if it matters, but what if it said provider hereby indemnifies, defends, and holds harmless within this document so that once it's signed, it's already clear that that step has been taken? I don't know if that makes sense. Even the way I said it, I don't know if it makes sense.
It does make sense. It's usually both. I've seen it both ways. Hereby indemnifies and defends, like if you're taking that action now, there's nothing now to indemnify and defend. Whatever is going to happen in the future. So that's why it says shall. Either one will suffice.
I guess I raised it just because I want to make sure it happens. So does it mean that once an agreement is in place, there's an additional step that needs to happen that they sign off on or not?
No, there's no additional step. It's just if there is something that requires indemnification or a defense, then they have to do it in the future.
Okay.
Is the word shall the key here? Shall is the indicator that there is action to.
Shall means that they are required to do so, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay. Got it.
Can I clarify? We aren't requiring them to show, for example, proof of any kind of liability insurance or anything like that. So when, Bill, you're asking about an additional step, are we asking for any kind of proof that they could indemnify us if, you know, let's say one of their employees committed an act of sexual misconduct?
Well, actually, Wendy, it does. So it's both. They are to indemnify, and also they do provide proof of insurance and name the mental health board as other insured on their liability insurance.
So that is the next step.
That step happens irrespective of if there's something to indemnify. They,
right.
Just by virtue of signing the contract, provide us their insurance.
Okay.
And that's in that same section. It's in the next.
Oh,
paragraph.
I didn't read far enough. Sorry.
Okay, well, that was an excellent question, and I think we received good clarification on this and reassurance. So,
Thank you.
I would look for a motion, and actually, we should take these separate, correct, Jason?
Yeah, I was
both-
just suggesting to do them separate, but to just move the second one before the grant application update.
Okay. So are there any other questions for the attorney? Hearing none, I will need a motion for the funding policy, the
So
updated
I make
funding
a
policy.
motion that we accept the new revised policy for our grant.
For funding policy. Okay, a second, we need a second for the funding
Second.
policy. Dr. Copeland, okay. And any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll take roll call. Dick Kunert,
Yes.
Dr. Copeland,
Yes.
Dr. Gorski,
Yes.
Dr. Giardini,
Yes.
Tim Neighbors, Linda Sandquist, Mariana Body, yes. Okay, moving on, since we did have discussion around the funding agreement updated funding agreement, sounds better to me. We will need a motion for approval.
Take it.
Okay, Dr. Giardini,
A second.
Dr. Gorski,
Second.
any discussion, any further discussion? Hearing none, I will take roll call. Dr. Dick Kunert,
Yeah.
Dr. Copeland,
Yes.
Dr. Gorski,
Yes.
Dr. Giardini,
Yes.
Tim Neighbors, Linda Sandquist, Mariana Body, yes. Okay, well, thank you so much, Brandy, for your time.
Thank
Thank you all.
you.
Have a great
Take
holiday.
care, Brandy.
Thank you. You
Thank
as
you.
well.
You too.
Appreciate it.
Have a great Christmas.
Okay, moving back, the FY 22-23 grant application. Jason, do you want to expound?
Yes, so we did have some discussion about this at the last meeting. And essentially, we just executed what was discussed, which was that there will be both a new application for renewal of existing programs and also a new application. I'm also going to admit Kristen into the room because I think she can answer any questions better than I can about this. And she spent a lot of time putting this together and over the course of the past year, really looking at what other funders do and identifying best practices. And I think it's really an excellent application. We've had myself and a couple other staff go through and do mock applications. And so the updates were essentially meant to both split these into an updated one for renewal and one for new applications, but then also to just eliminate anything that really didn't inform our decision-making last year. If you recall, we copied McHenry County's application, and that was incredibly helpful for getting us started. But we've learned over the past year that, hey, there were some things that we didn't need, and there were some things that we probably would have liked to have known for our process that we didn't ask in the last application. So Kristen, would you like to add anything to that?
She's muted. Oh, she knows.
I don't think there's
Mhm.
anything that I need to add, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask them.
Can I also note that there was an update? Kristen, can you mention the update to the scoring rubric that we're including in this updated application item?
Yeah, so last month you all approved a funding rubric, and we made a couple new changes to specifically the continued agency funding section to describe a little bit further in relation to the learning collaborative network and to some of the compliance forms to better be able to provide information about how organizations in the past have done compliance on outcomes and finance reporting. So there's some changes to the language in the very last section.
we didn't want it to be too subjective in what we as staff report to the board that compliance looks like. So we tried to create some very specific criteria of what we would be reporting to you on what current funded programs have or have not done.
I had one question to ask, and I did ask Jason during our preparation for the board meeting, and I think it was helpful to hear. The clarification I needed is, can an agency that is currently receiving funding apply for new funding? And Jason gave why don't you explain that?
Yes, so the answer to that is yes. And the criteria for a renewal application, it's essentially that there are no new priorities, no new target populations, and that the budget does not increase more than 5%. So let's say an application who's already doing crisis services, that organization also wants to do supported housing. They could do a renewal application on their current program and a new application for the new priority area of housing. If they were approved on both applications, we then would allow for them to have one consolidated work plan that included both programs. The reason for this is that we want to make sure that for new programming, everybody goes through the same rigorous criteria that all of the people had to go through the first time and all of the new organizations are going through. At the same time, we don't want to create unnecessary, redundant administrative procedures on the back end. So by making everyone do the same standard for new programming for the review process, but then allowing consolidations of work plans and budgets, that will reduce the administrative back end part for both the agency and for us.
Jason, I have a question. So I had the same question, Marianne. So if a already funded agency requests additional funding in a new year, but it's for the same basic programming that they were approved for to begin with. So it's not the same agency with a different program, it's the same agency with the same program for which the work is not complete yet. Do we have objective parameters in there to judge, or is it a little more subjective? I mean, are there objective parameters as to how far they've gotten that says, hey, you've really made great progress, you just need additional funding to get to the next step, and the year wasn't enough time to do it? If I'm making sense again, is that allowable, and is the judgment of that objective, or is it more subjective?
Yeah, so their ability to file for a renewal application wouldn't be contingent on what you're saying, but what would, the part that we've clarified in the scoring rubric is that if you're doing a renewal application, there's a fifth category that new applications don't have, which is agency continue funding. It's basically a compliance category. And in that is financial compliance, outcome reporting, essentially, participation in the learning network. And so I think that, I don't know that any of the programs, as you're kind of stating it, have like an end destination where we will have accomplished this and then the program will no longer be needed, as much as it's filling a gap in the current mental health ecosystem. And certainly those gaps might change over time. So I hope I'm answering it, but the kind of the point is that, yes, we can give you an idea of what the progress has been over the last year. And yes, the scoring criteria would take that into consideration in reviewing the application. We would provide notes on that, and that would, by the reviewer, be part of the scoring process.
So in the worst case scenario, even though technically a lot of the boxes would be checked, the progress made given the funding doesn't support renewal. That's a possibility. Is that true?
That would be a possibility, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? All right, if not, I will need a motion for approving the FY 22-23 grant application.
Move.
Okay, Dick Kunert, and I need a second.
Second.
Dr. Copeland, I'm sorry, I'm looking at Tim. I thought he was speaking. So, okay, with that, I'll take roll call. Dick Cooner,
Yes.
Dr. Copeland,
Yes.
Dr. Gorski,
Yes.
Dr. Giardini,
I'm sorry. Yes.
okay, Tim Neighbors,
Yes. Yes.
Linda Sanquist, and Mary Anabati, yes. Okay, and for the record, Tim Neighbors has joined us, so he is present. The last action item is board member affiliations for the FY23 grant disqualifications list, and it's been updated. So Jason, do you want to elaborate?
Sure. So essentially, this was sent out to all the board members to review, to update your affiliations. The ones that were removed were all of Dr. Julie Morris affiliations, since she is no longer a board member. NAMI Northern Illinois was removed based on Danielle's resignation and Mary Anabati's resigning from the NAMI board. And also the YMCA was removed after conversation with Dr. Gorski that he would be stepping down from their advisory committee that he was serving on. So that's where we're at to date. Certainly, if anybody overlooked that and you have an additional affiliation, it's critically important that we publish this accurately so that any organizations who might be wanting to file for funding are aware if there's a conflict of interest that would potentially disqualify them. We have in the grant seekers meeting noted that in the case that one of these organizations does want to file for funding, that rather than them contacting me about that they contact the board member with whom they're affiliated. So I have directed them to talk to you about it so that you could deal with the conflict of interest as you felt best.
Okay, so with that, any questions? I need a motion for approval of the updated list for the grant disqualification.
Mhm.
Will be it.
Dr. Giardini, okay, a second.
Two neighbors.
Tim.
Tim Neighbors, thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I will take roll call. Dick Cooner,
Yeah.
Dr. Copeland,
Yes.
Dr. Gorski,
Yes.
Dr. Giardini,
Yes.
Tim Neighbors. Linda, Tim, I can't hear you. For the
Yes.
record. Thank you. And Linda Sanquist and Mary Anabati, yes. So we have taken care of our action item for our agenda. And now just moving on to our discussion items, we have our annual report outline. And Jason. Oh,
Okay.
Tim, do you have a question?
I did have a question. I guess this is for legal. With the did she leave?
Yeah, sorry, Tim, she stepped off. Maybe we should have had her stay for that last one. I didn't. She was just going to comment on the funding policy and funding agreement.
Right, and that was my question was about, because I know I always wondered, with the people that are, being on boards, does that include the Winnebago County Board, even though that's they're the fiscal agent? Where did that fit into the law? If the board can apply for funds or not, or were we?
Well, departments within county government can apply for funds.
Okay.
And so that's already happened with the sheriff's department and the jail. I guess I'm not conceiving a scenario in which the county board itself would be the administrator of a program, but I think that if a department within the county applies, then that's not,
Okay.
I'm not sure that has conflicted you.
Yeah, I just didn't remember if that was if they were allowed to apply.
But Tim, remember that you're a mandated member of the mental health board as a member of the county board.
Right. I know. I understand that, but I was just
So
wanted
I
to check to
don't
make
see
sure
how
it was
that
okay.
would, I don't see, Ed, what do you think? I don't think that would create an issue under the conflicts law.
I don't see where it would, but again, to Jason's point, I don't see where the board would be administrating any kind of programming anyway by which they would need to apply.
Unless they're going to start serving the public with mental health services and themselves, which I cannot foresee happening. I don't think there is a conflict there. So.
Tim, if you'd like me to formalize that question with the attorney, then feel free to shoot me an email after the meeting and I can ask them their opinion of that.
All right.
Okay. So you were going to give us the annual report outline, Jason?
Yes, so we've included for you the outline and some of the content. We are still working with the health department as the fiscal agent to get the final fiscal year and budget revenue and expenses. So we don't have this, we have example from last year. So we will certainly get this into the appropriate brand standard format. This is not required to be published publicly until the end of March or within 120 days of the end of the fiscal year. However, it is required by the Illinois Community Mental Health Act that within 90 days of the end of the fiscal year, that a copy be given to the chairman of the county board. So that would be the 29th of December. So essentially that'd be before our next board meeting. So we will execute this based on the content that's in there. If anybody has any additional sections that you would see the need for, let's have discussion about that. We'll send out a drafted version of it before we finalize it and give everyone the opportunity for any final feedback. And then we will finalize it and submit a copy to the chairman of the board, put it on the website, and then before the 120-day mark, we'll have to publish it in a newspaper or publish the link to the website in a newspaper.
Okay. All right. Any questions for Jason on the annual report?
Just as always, thanks for all the work, the hard work.
Yes, and I see Kristen got off and I wanted to thank her so much on, for the funding application. I know she worked so hard on that. So I wanted her to know the board appreciates all of the time and effort. So
she's probably watching.
Okay, well, that's good because your team deserves credit for that. The final discussion item is the workforce development strategies.
Yeah, so as you probably remember, we have these quarterly, or they've been really every other month, learning network collaborative meetings with all of the funded agencies. And based on the reports that we were getting from the first quarter outcomes, that because of the behavioral health workforce shortage, how many organizations were having trouble hiring, we did have the workforce board, Workforce Connection, come and present to the agencies at the November Learning Network Collaborative meeting. And they gave a really nice presentation about the sector as a whole, but then also kind of locally, what the overall workforce looks like and kind of what the mental health workforce looks like and different population characteristics. I sent you the presentation, hopefully you saw that. And there are some challenges certainly within the local ecosystem when you look at what's required to fill some of these positions and the overall kind of educational attainment of the region. But they also presented some strategies for how to improve. And so the kind of tier one strategy was actual business services that funded organizations could engage in with them directly, marketing their open positions, going to job fair, doing job shadowing with potential college students or such. And then there was a second tier that was a regional approach to addressing the sector as a whole and developing and improving the talent pipeline. And so if you see on that presentation, I think it was like slide 12, there's 6 different strategies within this sector based focus. And this is a fee for service option. While the first tier of what they offer is included in their current funding streams, the second one would require fee for service, and it would be a collaborative approach. So it wouldn't be organization by organization. It would be more of a regional approach for a kind of consortium of organizations to tackle together. So my thoughts on this would be to follow up with our funded organizations and see who might be interested in pursuing collectively this regional approach to workforce development in our region. And then based on that number of organizations, find out what the fee is that the Workforce Connection is seeking for this type of thing to, I guess, determine if this is a viable possibility for our funded organizations, and perhaps also for the board itself to be involved in addressing this.
It's interesting to me, Jason. Jason and I this morning were at a meeting of the Rockford Regional, what was it, Jason? Health Coalition, their annual meeting. And I had an opportunity for a minute to talk to Shelton Kay of Crusader. And we were discussing the mental health board funding, and he was expressing sort of the same problem that we're having. And I said, well, maybe one of the things the mental health board could examine would be the viability of putting some money behind either the medical field or the psychiatric social work field, funding scholarships and things to try and draw people from our community who are studying in these areas back to our community. Maybe in the way Rockford Promise is funding some of our young people to go to college. But I think that's something we're going to have to address as a mental health board based on all these shortages. Have a sort of a long-term view on how we get some of these people back here.
Yeah, I think the Workforce Connection, from what I gather, with what Jason has reported, that would be a great first step, because they certainly could offer services to our funded agencies as well. And I think that if there was more effort placed in developing this personnel in our community, we're going to make some progress. So rather than us taking money for treatment and funding scholarships, I would like to see if what, these organizations that are, expert in this, what they would have to offer that maybe the mental health board could tap into, to support our agencies going forward. Okay, but I do think it's really a critical piece of this puzzle. We can't have these programs without the qualified staff, and there's a drought for sure. So I know that Jason has reached out. And I think it's also going to be very helpful with the collaborations that we're really encouraging for next year. For these organizations to come together And it seems like we've got some willing partners, at least are, have raised their hand and said, yes, I'm looking to collaborate, so that's really a good sign there. Okay, other matters? Is there any other matters? I have nothing on the agenda. Jason, is there anything that you wanted to report on? Okay. Any board member? Okay. If not, our last item is our adjournment, and I'd need a motion for that, Dick.
Motion to adjourn and wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
I'll
Well,
second that.
same to you too. It's
Merry
wonderful.
Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
look like and a healthy one.
I'll be expecting gifts on my front porch, so
Boy,
Okay, well, Terry,
ain't gonna
I'm so
happen.
glad. You're transparent. I like that about
Yeah.
you too. All right, so we
Right
have
through
a
me.
motion. Do we have a second for adjournment?
Second,
Okay, there we are with Dr. Giardini. And I guess I will do the roll call for the last time. Dick Kunert,
Yes.
Dr. Copeland,
Yes.
Dr. Gorski,
yes.
and Dr. Giardini.
first, why are you laughing so much, Copeland? Yes.
It's your
All
enthusiasm.
right, Tim Neighbors,
Yes.
Linda Sanquist, Mariana Body, yes. So see you all next month. And Jason, thanks for the hard work.
Now,
Yes, Jason.
thanks again,
absolutely.
Jason. You're
Yeah.
great.
Right.
The best.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks.
God
Thanks.
bless.